Good morning, everyone, and hello. My name is Daniel Gindis, and I'm really excited to be with all of you today during our summer vacation to learn about English. Um, Also very sorry that we're not going to be getting to do this in person as we initially wanted to, but such is life, and we're going to hopefully have a good time here on Zoom in the comfort of our own home or wherever it is that we are. Let me see. Trying to get to share. Right. Here we go. Portion of screen. Okay, so we're gonna get started and let's have a great day today. Look forward to meeting you all. So today's class, interactive lecture, if you will, is 3 fun interactive activities to get our students speaking. Speaking specifically has taken more emphasis and I would say has changed in importance since the age of ChatGPT and AI, and that while we would like our students to write their own material, speaking is something that they still have to be able to do even within these limitations. And we want speaking to be something which we work into our classrooms, and it can be challenging because we have a bunch of students, and usually if one is speaking, others are not. So in today's workshop, I'm going to give a short introduction, talk about the students of today, the types of speaking programs, and we'll have 3 drills that we can use. We're not going to go into all of them in full depth, but I'd like us to taste them a little bit, because when we see them in practice, there's some additional points I can make, and we can also use sort of get an idea of like how it works and things to take into account for our own students in classrooms. While there are similarities, many schools and setups are very much their own space, their own creature. Some schools have very much after school program cultures. Some schools have working with municipalities or parents more involved, and these can impact speech programs, whether they're part of our classroom or we make an additional club or other activity. So English speaking activities, I would say for the sake of our discussion today, focus on different skills. So as I introduce myself, this will be a little bit more clear. But when we say speech activities, it's not just a speaking activity. A speaking activity can work on, for example, extemporaneous speaking, making things up on the spot. Some of them can work on use of types of words or vocabulary, or delivering a certain type of information, or, for example, achieving a specific goal. So my name is Daniel Gindis. Some of you may know me. I work in the education space, specializing in speaking programs. We also send trainers to schools through the Geffen. I myself did competitive debate for 4 years. I did Model UN for 4 years. I did Toastmasters for 2 years. I did staffing. I did training, a bunch of this different stuff. And I can say that these speaking programs really changed my life. And I say this as a native speaker who never really had fear of public speaking. And these programs were excellent and made a huge difference for me. And the reason they did is that the external goal that I needed to achieve was very much my motivator. I didn't notice that I was getting more organized, more logical, better critical thinking skills, better strategy, better negotiation. And I'd say that for what we do at Ambassador, that's very much the underpinning value, is that we give the students a goal, and as they get there, they're going to learn, rather than practice this, thing in a vacuum. I also want to say that for over the past year, we've really worked to develop these programs at Ambassador Academy in different sectors across the country. And we can really see how students develop very differently, whether it's Model UN, debate, public speaking for TED, pitch, Hasbara, entrepreneurship, and so on. So I also want to talk about conferences. It's something that some of you may not take into account for your, school schedule, but I'd highly recommend conferences or competitions. If you'd like, you can email me later. I can give you a schedule. We have a TED Talks competition at the end of every year where students can come and have to present a pitch up to 5 minutes, where they're going to present some kind of idea, can be with a PowerPoint and by certain specific rules. So this type of practice can be just a one-day experience where kids get to speak. And I like to say, if you go to a competition, you learn in a month what in a day, what you would in a month. It's much more compounded speaking time. They see other people are doing it as well, and it really makes it fun and engaging. Also, another bonus of taking kids to these activities is that they're going to make friendships with their peers. And for them to know that they'll get to see these other students from other schools again, these other kids who like them, like speaking, find this interesting, will require them to be on good behavior and support you in this activity, which can really help. So while I think, again, our dream at Ambassador is that every school will have a model UN club, a debate club, a TED Talks club, like a speaking club to really develop the extracurricular culture that exists in the US, where the soft skills learned in these extracurricular programs are usually the defining factor for getting into universities, getting into jobs when, everyone does the basics. And it's something that, like, our goal is to really help develop in Israel. I can say in some of the programs we've taught, like, I wish I would have had it in high school, but I'm glad that we're in this kind of place. And I feel as English educators, we're in the unique position to bring some of these activities and programs to our schools. And they're really so great, even though the core is, speaking in confidence, that they can rise up and become as prestigious as robotics, as important as sport competitions. And if anyone's interested about that, like, I'm happy maybe do a future workshop on that or answer questions personally. Okay, so with this as a base, with these activities, what we want is to make things fun and engaging. The different types of programs have different focuses. This is a bit more on what I talked about before. TED Talks is about ideas worth spreading and audience engagement. The audience doesn't need to do anything, but they need to listen. We're keeping their attention. That's something important. A pitch is about a call to action. It's about getting someone to do something. When if you're making a pitch to investors or a pitch to your classmates to go for a morning walk or run, it's about eliciting some kind of response. TED Talk, how many TED Talks have you seen? Has anyone here, we've all seen TED Talks, right? Okay. How many of them have we gone, great talk? Most, maybe. How many of them do we go, interesting? How many of them do we change our action? When someone's showing us the process of, paper decomposing, or showing us, a jungle that they've reached the other side of, like, inspiring maybe, but doesn't get us to do anything. So if someone's giving a TED Talk, their goal is to be memorable. Their goal is to be engaging. But if someone's giving a pitch, they're supposed to elicit a change in the audience. That's why if you'd say, is a commercial more of a TED Talk or more of a pitch?
A pitch.
A pitch, exactly. A commercial, if we go, oh, good information, it failed. By the way, this is an activity you can also do with students if you want to find, like, certain commercials and see, like, did this work and why. There was one commercial I remember I saw at the Super Bowl years ago. I forgot the product, but I remember the commercial. So very different. Toastmasters is about structure, structured meetings following a format. Debate is about persuasion and logic. You need to persuade a judge or an audience versus another side. Model UN is about diplomacy.
Excuse me, can you elaborate on Toastmasters? Because
100%. I'm going to elaborate on all of these. I just want to give, like, the word of their differences, and then I'll talk about them each for a few minutes about the difference in format, because I know not everyone knows these, and I feel that to know that this exists and we can go in any of these directions, it'll be helpful. So the Model UN is diplomacy. You have to persuade other people to vote for you. Entrepreneurship in its form is idea development. It's taking an idea and making it presentable, learning to, fine tune, and then maybe you can pitch it. And Hasbara is about media and messaging. And Hasbara can be Hasbara direct, can be advocacy, but it's very much about, like, what is considered effective advocacy, that the audience receives it, that it goes further than your immediate friend group. So that's the emphasis on these programs. So I'll talk a bit more about the technicalities of these programs, because not everyone is familiar. But I want to say that for you to begin with, to know that each of these, when we do speaking drills, it's not a speaking drill. The goal is to teach kids to do call to action. The goal is to work on diplomacy. The goal is to work on idea development, and so on. All right, so I want to now talk a little bit more about the format of these speaking programs. I'm going to be running through it because I do want us to get to the drills, but just so we understand the differences between them practically. And first of all, this slide, this is recorded, and my emails at the end if people want to know more about specific ones. But the idea here is how we can use this in our class. So TED Talks are carefully crafted presentations on ideas worth spreading, while real TED Talks are maximum 17 minutes. Here, the ones that we have in our competition are 5 minutes, and the format is unflexible. Like, not doing this loses points. It's opening, personal story 1, supporting data, personal story 2, conclusion. And the reason that it is this is that many students will say, think of the turtles, think of the whatever, but not draw us in. They go very far from themselves with vague generalizations, and it loses an audience. So personal stories must take place for the TED Talks to work. Next is storytelling. This is more like the high-tech buzzword. Involves sharing, capturing narratives. The time can vary, and there aren't really storytelling competitions. But the idea here is that if you're doing storytelling, there's, the 3 acts of a story. The parts need to lead to each other. There is a structure for this. Toastmasters are 30-second to 7-minute speeches in a structured meeting where people have different roles. For example, if I'm the Toastmaster, I'm going to welcome Maya to give a 30-second speech. Then I'll welcome Zohar to talk about how Maya's speech was. And then Ra'anan and Julia are going to give 7-minute longer speeches. It very much focuses on structure. It's not commonly done in high schools, usually post-high school, but it's an interesting place to draw inspiration from. Pitch is 3 to 10 minutes. It's a goal-oriented presentation. And this one is more like a product, clear problem identification, a proposed solution, a value proposition, and a call to action. It's, I'd say, the one that's most elicited on getting a response from a general audience in a way that is similar to commercials or other types of pitch. And a pitch game you can have is to define who the audience is and who the students are. For example, your audience is now everybody's parents. Your audience are a bunch of, families who used to live in the north and now are in the area. The audience is your classmates. The audience is all the teachers in the school, and watch them change their messaging for that. So that's something which can be cute. Debate specifically here is 2 teams against each other. Now, something I like to distinguish is that the previous ones are audience focused. That means speaker one way to audience in one speech, maybe with questions. This now is speaker on speaker. So there are 2 teams. Generally for high schools, it's called World Schools format. So it's 3-on-3 with a judge. So this and there's actually points, and there's a winner and a loser. And a best. So that's for debate. And this also has timed speeches, place for rebuttals, questions, and cross-examinations. Most of us are familiar with debate as a concept. Has someone here seen debate in their school at any point? Okay, excellent. So some of us have. If not, great activity. Also has a competitive circuit in the country, so students can practice regularly. The same goes for Model UN. Sorry, text is a little bit small for those on their phones. It basically simulates the workings of the UN. Students represent countries, and they basically go from 1 to several days of 6 to 8 hours a day, where they don't speak just once, they speak many times, negotiate, find groups. It's a really excellent activity. I did an ETAI a few years ago. I did a short intro just to Model UN itself. Because they're taking on role play, it gives a much more, I'd say, a prolonged amount of time where they get to speak and to be in character. They speak during the lunch breaks. They speak during, whatever else that it is, until the end of the conference. Really great activity. Highly recommend to try it out, at least once. Entrepreneurship is focusing on, some schools have entrepreneurship clubs or, I'd say other activities in this direction. You would know if you have them. Here, the students are focused on like Startup Nation style. And from our perspective as English teachers, we want to help the kids present well. This is a pitch. It's pitch competitions can range from 5-minute speeches to full days. The point is come up with a product, also sometimes a business plan, and it's more sales focused. So it's not just giving a pitch, it's the process around it. There are many ways to play with this. Finally is Hasbara, which is advocating a cause for an in-person or created media. The goal is that this content should be understood by a larger audience. This has been, I'd say, especially helpful this past year with the students that we taught Hasbara to, where like kids were making videos of like, let's say rockets or other things for their friends, and then getting frustrated, they were telling the world, was only going to their immediate circle. So the focus here is really helping students take into account the things they would need to do something wider and larger. And if it wants to reach additional audiences, what do you need to do when, you know, the algorithm shows you to your friends and it's not just a dance? How do we make this message? How do we make it interesting? So it's, I'd say, message tailoring specifically, you know, with the media in mind. And some teachers that we did this with this year had students make little videos at the end of the year, which we found very therapeutic, where they would show, for example, they'd be playing basketball. Suddenly they would put the sound effect of a siren. They would all run away. And then the kid would speak to the camera and saying, boy, this year was really crazy. This happened a few times. What happened to me? And describe their experience. So there's a lot to do, I would say, for in all of these activities. And, you know, have the slides and we can elaborate on more. But the reason that I want to say that also all of these activities have students speaking in front of others. And in 2024, this was about their experiences in doing so. And the reason that I want to emphasize these is when it comes to speech, we usually think of speaking as, oh, it's a speaking drill. So I want to, before we go into the actual drills, the three that I picked for today, I want to say that we should divide it in our minds that speech is a very open, flexible, versatile thing to have. Because as English teachers, we're okay, are we reading? Are we writing? Are we speaking? Let's budget for these. But to divide speaking into what we're focusing the speaking on, can speaking sometimes be a support to writing? Are we having them add vocabulary, or are we having them add, you know, speed, confidence, or other types of objectives like persuade me to do something? So that type of thing can divide speech up was the goal of the first part. Before we jump into the drills, are there any questions? Any questions, anyone?
Do you train teachers? Because
Yes. Like we do ishtalmuyot.
Where is such ishtalmuyot available?
I'll put a link to a WhatsApp group that we have where we announce the ishtalmuyot, and we also have the inspectors usually will regionally
Great.
do that.
Could you please ask the moderators to put it on the website, or I don't know, and not on the website, sorry, for those who registered for the program, like to post it in the directory or something, so that we have it available, not just on the chat.
100%. That's a great idea.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay. Any other questions? I'd say more on what we've talked about so far. I'll also stay like a few minutes afterwards.
Just out of curiosity,
yes.
There's not really a successful word in English for asbah, right?
Well, I mean,
explanation.
Explanation.
No.
The translation is advocacy.
Advocacy, yeah.
But it's something which I'd say
no, but I mean advocacy, you advocate for something. Hasbara is something general. It's not advocacy, it's explanation.
Right. So
but it's also like raising awareness.
Right.
Well, raising awareness זה צריך להיות מילה אחרת, זה לא יכול להיות.
So probably like in Hebrew, there's a more general term, and in English, it should be broken down into a more specific term. Like
well, it's that with the English language. The English language
like maybe
is
it's a cultural
specific.
thing.
So,
yeah, maybe it's a cultural thing. I don't know.
So no, Hasbara is specifically relating to Israel. That's where the term of like Masbir comes in. So I would say it's advocacy tailored to Israel. All right. So let's go All right, so we're going to continue with the speaking drills, and then in the end, if we have more time, we'll happily be able to. I guess at this point we're going to really need to do them more theoretically. But
excuse me, by the way,
yeah,
where can we get the Haklatot and the PPTs?
so this you'd be getting from ETAI are supposed to put them up.
Haven't they put them up? No.
They're supposed. I mean, I'm supposed to send them this recording. They're going to put it up somewhere.
I
So-
think we should approach Karen. We should contact Karen by email, the ETAI secretary, and ask her for the recording we want to have.
Okay, thank you.
After the
Okay.
conference, after the conference.
After the conference, yeah. Okay, let's
Yeah, sure.
so I was informed that would be the case. I hope so, because there are other workshops happening right now that I would love to, be part of. So it's one of the
We'll have all the recordings after the conference, yeah,
exactly.
for those who registered.
Perfect. Okay, let's talk about 3 speaking drills. Given that we have about 15 minutes left, I think that we're not going to get to practice them as much as I would have liked, but at least conceptually, we'll learn a bit about some things that we can use. So the 3 drills, the games that I want us to focus on today are Clash in a Bag, Excuses, and Toast meetings. They have different levels of complexity, and I would say one is like medium, low, and high, and they all can go through different amounts of time, and we'll go into them. So Clash in a Bag. Clash in a Bag is a game focusing on, is this debatable? And we're going to practice it for like 2 minutes here after I go over what it is. It's something which, by the way, works very well on Zoom. I hope we don't have to do more Zoom lessons like we know we have in the past. But this game was a big hit for the Teach for TV time, where, you have this little square and, you get to interact that way. So Clash in a Bag. It's a clash is a Model UN term. It's a specific, practical, disputable policy that can get a majority in one sentence. And, it takes like 2 minutes to unpack this. But basically, it's what do you want to do to solve the problem in one line? Okay, now why is this important? Because in Model UN, if I offer a policy, others need to agree with me. Because the measure in Model UN is other people need to vote for your idea. So you want to say something specific, practical, and disputable. If it's not disputable, people can't agree with me. If I say right now, for example, everyone here, we should all get a melon delivered to our house, and someone's allergic to melon, then maybe that's not what we want. Maybe we want to, have rock music playing in the background. So it needs to be something that we can agree or disagree. And if it elicits immediate disagreement, we know we've hit something, because the response oftentimes is just nothing. Like, okay, fine. It's like if I say, like, I'm ordering a pizza for myself afterwards, after this meeting, you're like, okay, enjoy your pizza, Daniel. Like, that doesn't matter to us. But if I tell you right now, I'm sending a group of 15 4-year-olds to your house, will arrive at your door at 11:40, and you need to take care of them for an hour. Like, suddenly, alarm bells ringing. You're like, wait, what am I going to do with 15 4-year-olds? We have limited experience, like 1 or 2, So if you're following what I'm saying, the difference that I tell you right now, please take the picture on the wall behind you and smash it on the floor. How can we elicit that type of a response in our students in this time of a game? So Clash in a Bag is to say something which is disputable. In Model UN, it's a practical policy, but here it could really be anything, as long as an idea that someone can agree or disagree with. Off clash means not disputable, doesn't elicit that kind of response, something that is either really undebatable or we wouldn't want to debate. So, for example, a clash is, we should use a new experimental drug with 50% success rate to cure the Ebola virus. How do we feel about using a drug with 50% success? That means 50% failure to cure a virus. Is that debatable? Yeah, we can argue the merits. We can think, is 50% better than nothing? If not, maybe only terminal patients. But off clashes, the Ebola virus is bad. And we can see our students saying, okay, write about the Ebola virus. It is bad. It kills people. It's a scary virus. No one should have it. We should cure it. Not really debatable. No one's going to say it. Most people will not say it's good, and it won't hold the focus the same way a drug with 50% success rate. So I want us to do for 2 minutes to at least, taste one of the drills is I want people to write 2 statements, one clash, one off clash. Do not write which is which. Just write the 2 statements. Please put them in the chat. I was going to give this 2 minutes, but right now we'll just paste it. Or let's take 1 minute and then I'll say paste and we'll have other people read it and we'll go through it together. Okay.
Could you please kindly read out loud the statement we have to debate about?
So we're not debating a statement. We're writing a statement that is debatable and one that is not. So one clash and one off clash. Clash should be something which we can agree or disagree. Practical policy is like a bonus for Model UN, but something which is debatable. Off clash, not debatable. Don't write which is which. We're going to need to guess together.
Should we write it for everyone or just
for everyone? Write it for everyone. Just write the 2 of them. Don't write which is which. Okay. All right. So, but make sure to write 2 different sentences in what you post. All right. So we'll have some people write them in. Let's start with so someone read. Galia, are you here? All right. Don't know if Galia's here. Okay.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
Can you read what Tamar Gordon wrote in the chat?
Sorry, I didn't unmute myself. The summer holidays are too long, the first statement. And the second, students and teachers need holidays.
Okay, so which is a clash, which is off clash?
Okay, the first is clash. The second is non-debatable.
Okay, do we all agree? Anyone else?
Can you repeat it, please? Sorry.
All right, can you read it again, please?
Should I read
Uh,
another one?
no, read it. Read
We
it
should
again.
add high tax on water bottles. And water is essential. So, of course, high tax is debated.
All right, let's okay, so what usually what we would do for this game is that we'd switch the student who's reading. So we take them on paper, we cut them up, we put them in a bag, and we pass them around. So everyone reads, or generally will read ones that are not what they initially read. All right, so let's I just picked some of these off of the chat. We'll put it on a whiteboard. Can you all see the whiteboard?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Let's get some text. Okay, so here are our sentences. So we're going to start with, okay, so the one that we read before, we'll start with that. Galia, can you read it again, the top one?
The summer holidays are too long.
Okay.
The students and teachers need holidays.
Beautiful. So let's say everyone, please turn on your microphones. Let's do this together. Summer holidays too long. Is this clash or off clash?
Clash.
Clash,
Okay.
obviously.
Is this clash or off clash?
Clash.
too long? It's clash.
Okay. And students and teachers need holidays?
Off
Clash.
Beautiful. Okay, great. So this was successful. Okay, let's try next one. We should suspend the law of gravity. Clash or off clash?
Off clash.
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 Okay.
Whenever there's a shoot, there's a
Off clash. It's
Okay, so we should do it. Look, there's definitely a question of like you can respond by saying like it's impossible. It's not like we could.
Right.
Okay. Longevity promotion is desirable, so it's desirable to try to live a long life. Is it clash or off clash?
Clash.
Clash.
I don't.
Okay. By the way, so this is a good example of one where
It's clash.
they're both clashes of different levels. Like I think that the attempt here was that the law of gravity would be not debatable because it's impossible. But the question is, could we disagree with this? Do humans need holidays? Is hard to disagree with unless you're advocating for a very unique world. Okay, so this is a good example. Saying sometimes people can write two different ones that are both clashed. And this is why it's good to have us read it together in discussion. 3,
Mhm.
sharks should be saved from extinction. Clash or off clash?
Clash. Off clash.
Of clash.
Off clash.
Okay.
If you,
All right. Sharks are dangerous. Clash or off clash?
Of clash.
Clash. Depends what we do.
I don't
That's why
think
sharks
it's
should
clash.
not be
I-
saved
I'm-
from extinction.
Okay,
Okay,
so by
got it.
this, so by the spirit of the activity, this one, the first one, is more of a clash than the second one. Now, it's true some sharks are not dangerous to humans, and some sharks are not, dangerous when they're smaller and so on. But like, so there is place for additional definition, but in general, like white sharks are dangerous unless you have protective gear. So this is one which is less debatable. Now, sharks should be saved from extinction really comes down to people's value about animals, about conservation. Should our government put their resources into this kind of a place? So we can see here that there is more of a direction towards that. And I'd say that this one is the more debatable one between the two. And we see here, by the way, like also looking at some of the others that people put in, each high school should have a speaking program. Like we may think that's not debatable, but it is. Okay, so we see here a demonstration of the clash in a bag game. We can see how while yelling it together, it is, it isn't, it elicits discussion. It's it's engaged, pretty simple. You can explain the concept, and put it up on the board and have the students read through it. You can understand it and explain it with some examples in 5 to 10 minutes. They can write for 5 minutes and spend the rest of the class wondering what is. Tamar, you have a question.
So basically, the talking point is that they argue, that they explain themselves, I mean, what we've done now is just say clash, of clash, and there was some writing of 2 sentences, but where does the talking come in? The discussion? Are they going to discuss?
Yes.
Because sometimes, I mean, some things are so clear cut that there's nothing much to discuss.
100%. I would say this, if you want to get everyone to speak and have them read and go through, then, aiming it to have them read it out is one thing. There is a place for them to then persuade why it's on clash or off. I didn't really do that here, but when like there's sometimes someone say on clash and off clash, and I'd be like, okay, but like, why is it? Why is it not? And sometimes it'll be on the fence and won't be as clear, and you'll need to be the, adjudicator of it. But in that kind of a place, you'll see that the most thing is that we, for a moment, we forgot ourselves and we really got into this and we're like, oh, clash. Is that a clash? I don't know, So that's what we want to have. And it's these kind of a moments. Now, depending on how much time you have, you can have the students, represent their opinion, take a vote, see if they persuade each other. So it depends. If you're going to do that, though, I'd suggest like a longer class period for it, or maybe divide it up, because these discussions can get, more lengthy. Yes, Marlene.
Maybe we can do something like rating, out of 5 clashes, which is the first one in importance.
100%. You can write them, have the students write them in. You can do it yourself. Like the ranking of what is the most compelling, it definitely can work. Marlene.
And maybe if I corrected the second statement, sharks can be dangerous. Okay, but I did this debate after they had content in the textbook, and then it just led to a debate about, should we save those miserable sharks or not? It's like saving the mosquito,
Exactly. It would be a big debate. No, excellent. Like, see, but that you've done that already. Like we see here, the goal is if we even as teachers for a moment forget what we're doing, so too for the students when it's guided. All right, we're really running out of time, so we're gonna only get to do one more. Not this one.
Can you read mine? Yeah.
Go read yours while I'm getting the
Top athletes are paid too much. They only entertain people, while doctors or physicians help people get better, and sometimes they save their lives. Who do you think should get paid more?
Okay, so that's already a debate topic. It's not a clash and an off clash. Like they're both debatable, and they're interesting ideas of like, should there be a preference in payment? but it's not like doctors should heal the sick or athletes are usually healthier.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Okay, so with our
Maybe I
last...
can change that to the autographic oath, which doctors usually
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to give us one more quick game. We're not going to manage to do everything. I apologize. I'll try to do the rest of this because this is supposed to be 5 games in person in 60 minutes and then 40 and so on. So the other game is called Excuses. This is a really cute game where excuses is a good thing. This should be done towards the end of the class, and students should justify why they need to leave early, or they have to get up and actually speak and persuade.
This is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really it's an engaging game.
It'll be very easy for them.
I used to do it. I ask my students to say 2 sentences. One is a lie, one should be a lie, and one is a fact. And they have to, the other students have to figure out which one is a lie and which one is the fact.
I
Excellent.
always do it at the beginning of the year with 4 sentences, 3 true statements, and 1 is a false statement.
Okay, this is good.
That's
Good.
awesome. I love it.
It's good that we're
Uh-huh.
sharing a wealth of different tips of information. Usually in Maishtomiyot, there's always a section towards the one of the last classes where everyone gets to give tips of things that they develop in their own classrooms, and it's really excellent sharing. So given that we have 1 minute left, give it 2 games instead of 3.
Wow.
So still
flown
it's nothing
by.
but a lot of, hopefully ideas and things that you can, divide up. You can bring these
Can you
programs to your
just show
school.
the slide of the 3rd game because I'm intrigued?
It's
Well, it's unfair. It's so unfair that those lectures are only 40 minutes long.
Yeah,
I agree. The 3rd one, basically, it's called Toast Drill. The idea is to give people specific roles. So, for example, you have a Toastmaster, like a student who's in charge of like allocating the speaking, and then someone else who keeps the time, and like there are different roles within it that you can then add things on, and through that you can have a class with much more interaction of different types of speaking. That's the gist of it. Okay, so with that, are there any questions on things as a whole?
Can I ask a question about the justification for leaving early? How do you do it? Like, does each kid stand up and say one? How do they rank them? Do they vote on them? How do you
100%.
actually do that?
So I would say it's up to you what you will consider success. For times that I've done it, usually just that they spoke English for like 30 seconds was sufficient. Like that they're like, for me that they got up to speak was the good part. Was the main focus. The proactive ones will usually speak first, but once they're gone, there's still more time. And then the others who, louder kids may interrupt. Suddenly the louder kids aren't there because they left. So
Or you let them leave after they give a good
right. So
reason.
So for me that they spoke was the achievement. I didn't really like the level of the argument. Like everyone wins. Good job, good job, good job. However,
Can we ask
you can have them rate if the excuses work or not. I would say, like, if you want to take excuses, I've never done it for a whole class. I did one time do it for 25 minutes, and we really got the quiet kids who never speak to speak because it was just them at some point. So that was really, really cool. But you could make an entire class out of it where the students can decide is the reason good enough or not. And maybe they can work in teams, and entire teams could go out. Like there are places to take it. It could be, it's like once a year we do excuses. And then, if you have the last session.
May I ask a question, please?
Yes.
Can we ask the students to put their ideas on paper first, or should they speak spontaneously? Like the whole idea is just to speak.
So Shira makes an excellent point, and that's actually something that I distinguish as extemporaneous speaking is very different from scripted speaking. It's developing different types of speaking. For this, I usually tell the students they need to know what they're going to say. They don't need to make it up on the spot, but they also usually don't write it down. But you could definitely have them write it down and read. I'd say when kids get to go home early, you can decide if you want them to read off a page, write in advance, or not. All right. Are there any other final questions? All right. Excellent. So I'll say from my end, this was a lot of fun. It went a lot faster than I expected. 40 minutes is not a lot. I sort of thought, okay, like, intro, 15 minutes. Each drill, 10 minutes each, and so on. I'm like, hour, you know. So definitely. So if anyone would like to ask me any questions, anything to follow up, I'd say for us, most of the programs I showed here, we do in schools, and we also support teachers in doing them. It's speaking can be tricky because it takes less, like it's a more expensive per participant activity rather than everybody write a test. At the same time, it's the thing which the students hold the most value for. And any way that we can enhance and do and get the kids engaged so they don't even notice they're speaking English is considered a win. Okay, so this is it for the workshop. Everyone, thank you all for being a really great, engaging, interactive audience. I will remain for an additional few minutes to answer questions, but for those who want to go, hopefully we'll see you throughout the year at some point. And yeah, write to me if you want to send students to competitions or Ishtamliot or anything. Great to meet you all. Have a great
Thank you.
summer.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. It was so much fun.
Yes, it was. Thank you.
There's
Thank
a
you.
nice activity
Thanks.
for a beginning class on speaking.